When we want to describe the absolute floor of uselessness, we say something is not worth a damn. While it sounds like simple profanity, the phrase is actually a linguistic fossil, the final remnant of a total economic collapse. In the late 18th century, the insult was more specific. If a tool was broken or a horse was lame, a farmer would tell you it was not worth a Continental. This is a Continental $5 bill, the first national currency of the United States, printed to pay for the war against the British. It explicitly promises a value thereof in gold or silver, but with no actual reserves, it was merely a paper promise. Because the survival of the new nation was tied to this paper, the Continental became a real-world test of what happens to a society when the trust in its institutions evaporates. To keep the army fed and clothed, Congress printed millions of these bills. They relied on these heavy wooden presses to generate capital out of thin air, with no new assets to back the increasing volume. This is the mechanic of an unbacked fiat system. When the supply of paper money increases faster than the goods and services it can buy, the value of every existing bill is diluted. As printing presses worked overtime, the Continental's purchasing power dropped until a single bill barely bought a handful of grain. This created a feedback loop. To keep up with inflation, Congress printed more money, accelerating the currency's decline. This internal instability was damaging, but it created a massive strategic opening for the British to move from a physical war to an economic one. The British High Command realized they didn't need to win every skirmish on the battlefield if they could simply destroy the colonists' ability to pay for the war itself. They used superior industrial resources to mass-produce high-quality counterfeits, mimicking the Continental design with professional precision. These fakes were smuggled into the colonies and spent in local markets, flooding the economy with even more worthless paper. The strategy worked because the British fakes were often better printed than the American originals. When citizens could no longer distinguish between a government bill and a foreign forgery, they stopped trusting the currency entirely. By 1781, the combined weight of hyperinflation and sabotage drove the Continental's value below 1% of its face value. Merchants and farmers began refusing to accept paper money at any price, bringing domestic trade to a standstill. The British had successfully turned the currency of the Revolution into a liability, making the paper in a soldier's pocket effectively worthless. The trauma of this collapse stayed with leaders of the new nation long after the war ended. When they gathered to write the U.S. Constitution, they included a specific gold and silver clause. This clause was a direct reaction to the Continental crash, legally prohibiting states from issuing their own unbacked paper money and tethering the nation's financial future to physical assets. But while the legal system moved on, the cultural memory of that worthlessness stayed behind in the American vocabulary. Over time, as the actual paper Continental bill disappeared from pockets and memories, the phrase "not worth a Continental" became a template. The specific name of the currency was eventually swapped for a generic dam, but the structure of the 18th century insult survived. The history of the Continental shows that a currency only functions when everyone agrees to believe in the system behind it. When that agreement is broken by debt or sabotage, the money, and the words we use to describe it, becomes quite literally not worth a damn.